Jake Morrison sat in the cold metal chair and stared at the blue alien across the table. The Xanthari delegate had 4 arms and skin that looked like smooth ocean water. Its big black eyes showed no respect as it spoke in its mechanical voice. "Your species is too young to understand how things work in space," the alien said. "You have only been here for 50 Earth years. We have ruled the stars for thousands of years. You must learn your place." Jake felt his hands tighten into fists under the table. He had been Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council for 3 long years. 3 years of being treated like a child. 3 years of watching his people get pushed around and ignored. The meeting room was huge and made of white stone that seemed to glow from the inside. 40 different alien species sat in curved rows around the center floor. Some looked like giant insects. Others had tentacles instead of arms. A few looked almost human but with strange colored skin or extra eyes. All of them looked down on humans. "The mining rights to Tau Ceti belong to the Vaxan Empire now," said Chairman Zephyros, from his high seat at the front of the room. The chairman looked like a tall gray stick with a bulb-shaped head. His voice echoed through hidden speakers in the walls. Jake stood up fast. His chair scraped against the floor with a loud noise that made several aliens turn to look at him. "Wait, just a minute," Jake said. His voice was steady, but there was anger underneath it. "Humans have been living on planets in that system for 20 years. We built cities there. We have families there. You can't just give our homes to someone else." The Vaxan delegate laughed. It sounded like metal scraping against stone. The Vaxan looked like a walking tank covered in thick black armor. Red lights glowed where its eyes should be. "Your colonies are small and weak," the Vaxan said. "We will put them to better use. Your people can find somewhere else to live." "Those are our children's homes," Jake said. His voice got louder. "Those are our schools and farms and hospitals. You can't just take them." "We can, and we will," Chairman Zephyros said. He waved one long, thin hand. "The vote has been made. The council has decided. Humans will leave Tau Ceti within 30 Earth days." Jake looked around the room. Not one alien face showed any care for what happened to human families. They all looked bored or annoyed that he was still talking. This was not the first time something like this had happened. For 3 years, Jake had watched the council make decisions that hurt humans. They gave human trade routes to alien companies. They ignored reports of attacks on human ships. They made rules that only seemed to apply to humans. When humans asked for help, the council said they were too new to deserve protection. When humans complained about unfair treatment, the council said they were too primitive to understand Galactic's law. Jake thought about Captain Lisa Bradley. She commanded a human ship called the UES Defiance. Lisa had sent 17 official reports about attacks on human cargo ships. Pirates kept hitting human vessels in what should have been safe space. But these pirates used weapons and ships that looked exactly like the ones used by council member fleets. Every single report had been ignored or lost in paperwork that took months to process. Meanwhile, human families went hungry because their food shipments never arrived. Jake thought about the biological scans. Every human who wanted to travel in council space had to submit to invasive medical tests. The aliens said it was for safety reasons, but no other species had to go through the same tests. Human children cried in fear as alien doctors stuck needles and probes into their bodies. Jake thought about the trade agreements. Humans could only sell certain products and only to certain species. They had to pay extra taxes that other species didn't pay. They could only use specific shipping lanes that took twice as long as the direct routes. All of this because humans were too young and too primitive to be treated as equals. Ambassador Morrison, Chairman Zephyros said. His voice was cold and final. "Do you have anything else to waste our time with?" Jake looked at the chairman's alien face. He looked at all the other aliens in their comfortable seats. These creatures had ruled the galaxy for so long that they thought they owned everything in it. They thought they could push humans around forever just because humans had joined the galactic community recently. They were wrong. Jake reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small device. It was a communication unit connected directly to Earth's government. He had been carrying it for months, hoping he would never need to use it. He pressed the red button. Far away on Earth, lights started flashing in military command centers. Admiral Ryan Cross looked at his screen and saw the signal he had been dreading. The signal that meant diplomacy had failed. The signal that meant it was time for Plan B. Jake put the device back in his pocket and looked around the room one more time. These aliens thought humans were weak because they tried to solve problems with words instead of weapons. They thought humans were stupid because they believed in fairness and justice. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "I do have something else to say," Jake said. His voice was calm now. Deadly calm. "The Terran Federation withdraws from the Galactic Council effective immediately. All treaties and agreements are canceled. All diplomatic relations are terminated." The room went quiet. Some aliens looked confused. Others looked amused, like Jake had just told a funny joke. "Furthermore," Jake continued, "any alien vessel found in human space will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. Any attempt to take human colonies will be met with force. You wanted to treat us like children who don't understand how the galaxy works." Jake walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the silent room. "Now you're going to learn why apex predators don't negotiate." The door closed behind him with a soft click. Admiral Ryan Cross stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution and watched the stars through the main window. His ship was big and powerful, but the aliens thought it was weak and old. They had no idea how wrong they were. The communication from Ambassador Jake Morrison came through exactly at noon, Earth time. Ryan had been waiting for this message for 3 years. He hoped it would never come, but he was ready when it did. "All stations," Ryan said into his headset. "Operation Silent Thunder is now active. Begin Phase 1 immediately." Across human space, dozens of ships that had been floating quietly in dark corners suddenly came to life. Their engines glowed bright blue as they moved toward their targets. These were not the simple cargo ships and small patrol boats the aliens knew about. These were warships built in secret over many years. Captain Steve Murphy commanded the destroyer UES Striker as it approached the Tau Ceti system. His crew of 30 humans had trained for this mission for 2 years. They knew exactly what to do. "Vaxxon mining fleet detected," reported Lieutenant Dan Carter from his sensor station. 12 heavy haulers, 6 escort ships, all armed with standard council weapons. "Are they demanding we leave?" Steve asked. "Yes, sir. They're telling us this is Vaxxon territory now, and we have 30 seconds to get out or they'll shoot." Steve smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Tell them we got their message, then destroy them all." The UES Striker moved like a hunting animal. The Vaxxon ships were big and heavily armored, but they were slow. They expected humans to run away or try to negotiate. Instead, the human ship attacked with weapons the aliens had never seen before. Blue beams of energy hit the Vaxxon shields and went right through them like they were not even there. The alien captain had time to send one confused message before his ship exploded into a ball of fire. "How are they doing that?" the Vaxxon fleet commander screamed over the radio. "Their weapons are too weak to break our shields." But Dr. Helen Parker had spent 5 years designing these new weapons in secret labs deep under Earth's surface. She knew exactly how Vaxxon shields worked because human spies had been studying them for years. Her plasma disruptors were built specifically to ignore the energy fields that protected Vaxxon ships. Within 10 minutes, the entire Vaxxon mining fleet was destroyed. Not one human ship was even damaged. "Send the message," Steve ordered. A simple signal went out to every ship in the system. It said, "Human territory. Trespassers will be eliminated. No warnings will be given." At the same time, Colonel Amy Torres was leading her Special Forces team through the dark corridors of a council supply station. The aliens who ran the station thought it was hidden and safe. They thought humans did not know it existed. They were wrong about that too. Amy's team moved through the station like ghosts. Their new stealth suits made them invisible to alien sensors. Their weapons were silent and deadly. The 12 alien guards never knew what hit them. "Plant the charges," Amy whispered into her radio. "We have 5 minutes before someone notices the guards are missing." Her team placed small explosive devices throughout the station's power core. When they were done, the station would be completely destroyed. But first, they downloaded all the computer files and sent them to Earth. These files contained shipping schedules, military plans, and secret communications between council members. Information that would help humans win the war that was starting. Amy and her team were back on their ship when the station exploded. The blast could be seen from 3 star systems away. News of the attacks spread quickly through council space. At first, the alien leaders thought the reports were mistakes or lies. Humans were weak and peaceful. They solved problems by talking, not fighting. They could not possibly have destroyed an entire Vaxxon fleet and a major supply station in the same day. Chairman Zephyros called an emergency meeting of the full council. The big meeting room was full of worried aliens talking loudly in dozens of different languages. "This must be some kind of trick," said the Xanthari delegate. "Humans do not have the technology or the skill to do this much damage." "Then how do you explain it?" asked the representative from the insect-like Threx species. 12 Vaxxon warships do not just disappear by accident. The Vaxxon commander was so angry that smoke came out of the vents in his armor. "My ships were destroyed by weapons we have never seen before. Human weapons that should not exist." General Kate Sullivan watched the council meeting through hidden cameras that human agents had placed in the chamber months ago. She sat in her command center on Earth and smiled as she listened to the aliens panic. Kate had been preparing for this war longer than anyone. While other humans worked on diplomacy, she built spy networks throughout council space. Her agents worked as janitors and cooks and mechanics in alien facilities. They gathered information and planted listening devices and waited for orders. Now those orders had finally come. "Phase 2 begins now," Kate announced to her staff. "Target all communication relays in sectors 7 through 12. I want the council blind and deaf within 24 hours. Across the galaxy, more human ships appeared out of nowhere and attacked alien installations. Communication towers that had stood for centuries were destroyed in seconds. Supply convoys that had traveled the same safe routes for decades vanished without sending even one distress call. The aliens started to understand that something terrible was happening. The humans they had dismissed as weak and stupid were destroying council operations faster than anyone could keep track of. But the worst part was the silence. Human ships appeared, attacked, and disappeared again without saying a word. No demands, no negotiations, no mercy. Commander Nick Hayes led Battle Group 7 as it moved through the Kepler system. His 5 ships looked small compared to the Xanthari war fleet waiting for them. 20 massive Xanthari battleships hung in space like sleeping giants. "They're demanding we surrender," reported his communications officer. "Tell them nothing," Nick said. "Just kill them all." The battle lasted 8 minutes. When it was over, 20 Xanthari ships were floating wreckage and 5 human ships were heading home without a scratch on them. The age of human diplomacy was over. The age of human warfare had begun. Chairman Zephyros stood at the front of the council chamber and looked at the chaos around him. Alien representatives were shouting at each other in dozens of different languages. Some were demanding immediate action against the humans. Others were calling for peace talks. A few were quietly packing their belongings and heading for the exits. The reports kept coming in, and each one was worse than the last. 3 more Xanthari fleets had been destroyed. 2 major Vaxxon mining colonies had gone silent. Council communication networks were failing across 12 star systems. "How is this possible?" Zephyros asked his military advisor, a massive creature, with 6 arms and armor plating covering its entire body. "Our intelligence report said humans only had cargo ships and small patrol vessels." "Our intelligence was wrong," the advisor said. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "The humans have been lying to us for years. They have been building warships in secret while pretending to be weak." Commander Nick Hayes watched the Xanthari fleet through his ship's main screen. 15 of their biggest battleships were arranged in perfect formation, waiting to crush the small human force that had dared to enter their territory. The Xanthari admiral sent a message full of confidence and threats. He promised to capture the human ships and put their crews in chains. He said humans needed to learn respect for their betters. Nick turned to his weapons officer. "Show them what humans think about respect." The battle was over in 6 minutes. The Xanthari ships were built for fighting other council races, who followed predictable patterns and ancient rules of war. They expected enemies to line up and trade shots until one side gave up or ran away. Humans did not fight like that. Nick's ships moved in ways that seemed impossible, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Their weapons hit targets from directions the Xanthari had not even known were possible. Their artificial intelligence systems worked together in perfect harmony, while the alien computers struggled to keep up. When the smoke cleared, 15 Xanthari battleships were floating debris. The human ships had not even been touched. News of the battle reached the council chambers within hours. The Xanthari representative, a proud creature with blue skin and 4 arms, looked like he had seen a ghost. "This cannot be happening," he whispered. "Our fleets are the strongest in the galaxy. We have never been defeated in open battle." "Maybe your fleets are not as strong as you thought," said a small voice from the back of the chamber. Everyone turned to look. The speaker was Kixtal, representative of the Siktar species. The Siktar looked like walking lizards and had been treated as second-class citizens by the Council for centuries. They were forced to pay extra taxes and follow special rules that did not apply to the more powerful races. "What did you say?" Chairman Zephyros demanded. Kixtal stood up slowly. "I said maybe your fleets are not as strong as you thought. Maybe the humans are not as weak as you believed. Maybe you have been wrong about many things." Several council members began shouting at once, but Kixtal continued speaking. "For 500 years my people have been treated like servants. We mine your metals and grow your food, but we get no respect and no representation. The humans have been here for only 50 years, and you already treat them worse than you treat us." "Sit down," Zephyros ordered. "This is not the time for your complaints." "This is exactly the time," Kixtal replied. "The humans are winning because they fight for something worth fighting for. They fight for their families and their homes and their right to be treated as equals. What do we fight for? To keep you in power so you can continue to ignore us." Admiral Grace Foster sat in her command center on Earth and watched the council session through hidden cameras. She smiled as she listened to the small lizard creature speak truth to the powerful aliens who had ruled the galaxy for so long. Grace had been waiting for this moment. She pressed a button on her control panel and activated a communication system that could reach every planet in council space. "Citizens of the galaxy," Grace said. Her voice was broadcast on every communication frequency in known space. "This is Admiral Grace Foster of the Terran Defense Force. We want you to see something." The broadcast showed detailed records of council crimes and corruption, secret deals between council members to steal resources from smaller species, military attacks on peaceful colonies that were then blamed on pirates, evidence of biological experiments performed on captured civilians. The information came from files that human spies had been collecting for years. Every hidden camera, every bribed official, every stolen document had led to this moment. "The Council has told you that humans are too primitive to participate in galactic civilization," Grace continued. "They said we are too young and too stupid to understand how things work. But we understand perfectly. We understand that the Council rules through fear and lies. We understand that they take what they want and destroy anyone who stands in their way." The broadcast reached billions of beings across thousands of worlds. Species that had suffered under Council rule for centuries suddenly realized they were not alone. The fox-like Villani saw proof that their missing colony ships had been destroyed by Council forces, not lost in accidents. The insect-like Threx learned that their food supplies had been deliberately contaminated to keep their population weak. Dr. Peter Novak monitored the galactic communication networks from his laboratory on Mars. He watched as the Council tried desperately to shut down the broadcast or block the signals. Their cybernetic specialists worked frantically to break into human computer systems and stop the flow of information. They failed completely. Human computer systems were generations ahead of anything the Council possessed. When the alien hackers tried to break in, Peter's security programs not only stopped them but followed them back to their own systems and destroyed them. The Corvani, a species that was part machine and part organic, prided themselves on their superior technology. They sent their best cyber warriors to attack human networks. Within minutes, those warriors found their own mechanical parts shutting down as human viruses invaded their systems. Impossible, whispered the Corvani representative as he watched his people's computer networks collapse one by one. Our technology is the most advanced in the galaxy. Apparently not, said Kixtal from his seat in the corner. As the chaos continued, more species began to question their loyalty to the Council. If the humans could expose so many secrets and destroy so many fleets, maybe they could win this war. Maybe it was time to choose a different side. The Villani ambassador stood up and walked toward the exit. My people withdraw from this council, she announced. We will not support a corrupt system any longer. The Threx representative followed her, then the delegates from 3 smaller species. Within an hour, nearly half the council chamber was empty. Chairman Zephyros watched his empire crumble around him. The humans had not just declared war on the council, they had declared war on the entire system that kept the powerful in power and the weak in chains. And they were winning. Colonel Beth Warren stood in the hidden shipyard buried deep inside an asteroid in the Vega system. Around her, dozens of massive human warships were being loaded with weapons and supplies. The alien races had no idea this place existed. How many more facilities like this do we have? Asked Captain John Mitchell as he watched workers prepare his ship, the UES Vengeance, for battle. 47, Beth replied with a smile. We have been building ships and weapons in secret for 10 years. While the Council thought we were weak farmers and merchants, we were preparing for this war. The truth was finally coming out. Humanity had never been as helpless as they pretended to be. Every insult from the Council, every unfair law, every attack on human colonies had been carefully recorded and remembered. Human leaders knew that diplomacy would eventually fail, so they prepared for the war that would follow. Captain John looked at his ship with pride. The UES Vengeance was 3 times bigger than anything the Council had seen from humanity before. Its weapons could destroy a planet if necessary, but more importantly, it carried something the aliens could never understand. A crew that was willing to die for their beliefs. Sir, said Lieutenant Karen Price from the communication station. Admiral Cross is ordering the final assault on Proxima Station. All ships are to move to attack positions immediately. Proxima Station was the Council's most important military base. It controlled shipping routes for half the galaxy and housed the Council's main fleet command center. If humans could take Proxima Station, the Council's ability to coordinate their forces would be crippled. But the station was protected by over 100 warships from 6 different Council species. It had energy shields that could stop the blast from a nuclear weapon. Its weapons could destroy an entire fleet before they got close enough to attack. The Council was sure that Proxima Station could never be captured. They were about to learn another lesson about human determination. Dr. Rachel Stone worked in her laboratory on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. She was not a soldier or a ship captain, but her work might be more important than any weapon humanity possessed. Rachel studied alien biology and had spent years learning exactly how each Council species worked. She knew their weaknesses, their fears, and most importantly, how to hurt them without killing them. The Zenthari biological agent is ready, she reported to her assistant, Dr. Mark Taylor. It will cause severe dizziness and confusion, but no permanent damage. They will not be able to fight, but they will survive. What about the vaccine? Mark asked. Their mechanical implants will shut down for exactly 24 hours, long enough for our people to capture their ships, but not long enough to cause permanent injury. Rachel did not enjoy creating weapons that targeted specific species, but she understood that showing mercy could be more terrifying than showing cruelty. When the Council realized that humans could easily kill them all but chose not to, they would understand just how completely they had lost. The attack on Proxima Station began at exactly midnight, Earth time. Captain John Mitchell led the assault, force of 30 human ships against more than 100 Council vessels. Any military expert would have called it suicide. But military experts had never seen humans fight a war they truly believed in. The Council fleet moved into their traditional battle formation. Their ships were arranged in neat rows, ready to exchange fire in the ancient patterns that had decided galactic conflicts for thousands of years. Their commanders felt confident as they prepared to crush the small human force. The human ships did something that no Council military academy taught their students to expect. They flew straight into the enemy formation at maximum speed with no regard for their own safety. "They are committing suicide," the Zenthari fleet commander said as he watched the humans approach. "This is not a battle strategy. This is madness." But it was not madness. It was something the Council species had forgotten over their centuries of comfortable rule. It was the willingness to sacrifice everything for something more important than your own life. The human ships crashed through the Council formation like a spear through paper, their shields held against weapons that should have destroyed them. Their crews fought with a desperation that confused and terrified their enemies. Lieutenant Sarah Johnson piloted her fighter through a cloud of enemy fire that should have vaporized her ship. She had been thinking about her little brother back on Earth, who was only 8 years old. She wanted him to grow up in a galaxy where humans were treated with respect. Commander Paul Anderson rammed his damaged ship into a Vaxxon battleship twice, its size. His last message was simple: for humanity's future. The psychological effect was devastating. Council crews had joined their military for honor and glory and comfortable retirement benefits. They were not prepared to fight people who viewed death as an acceptable price for victory. When Rachel's biological weapons were deployed, the tide of battle turned completely. Zenthari crews found themselves too dizzy to operate their ships. Vaxxon soldiers collapsed as their mechanical parts shut down. Corvani computer systems crashed as human viruses overwhelmed their networks. Within 4 hours, Proxima Station was in human hands. The Council's most important military base had fallen to a force 1/3 its size. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed communication could carry it. Species that had been considering rebellion against the Council suddenly found their courage. The Villani declared their independence and offered to join humanity's cause. The Threx did the same. Even some members of the traditionally loyal species began to question their allegiance. Admiral Ryan Cross stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the captured Council station. His forces had lost 12 ships and nearly 300 crew members, but they had broken the back of Council military power. "Sir," said his communication officer, "we are receiving surrender offers from 17 Council fleets. They want to negotiate terms." Ryan thought about Ambassador Jake Morrison's last words before leaving the Council chambers, about how apex predators do not negotiate. "Tell them we will accept nothing less than complete surrender," Ryan said. "No terms, no conditions. They can surrender unconditionally, or they can be destroyed. Those are their only choices." The war was not over yet. But for the first time in galactic history, the Council was no longer the side that would decide how it ended. Humanity had taken control of their own destiny, and they were not giving it back. Admiral Ryan Cross walked through the corridors of the captured Council headquarters on Centrax Prime. The walls were made of white crystal that had once seemed so impressive to human visitors. Now they just looked like expensive decorations in a building that no longer mattered. His boots echoed on the polished floor as he made his way to the main chamber where the Council had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years. Behind him walked Captain Susan Clark and a team of human soldiers. They were not here to destroy or conquer. They were here to do something much more dangerous to the old order. They were here to bring justice. The great doors to the Council chamber opened with a soft hiss. Inside, the remaining Council members sat in their high seats like frightened children. Chairman Zephyros was still in his position at the front, but his proud posture was gone. His long gray face showed fear and confusion. "Admiral Cross," Zephyros said. His voice was much quieter than it had been during all those years of dismissing human concerns. "We wish to discuss terms of surrender." Ryan looked up at the alien leader who had treated humans like annoying insects for so long. "There are no terms to discuss. You surrender completely or we finish what we started." "But surely you understand that governing the galaxy requires experience," said the Zenthari representative. His 4 arms moved nervously as he spoke. "You cannot simply destroy a system that has maintained order for centuries." Captain Susan stepped forward. She had been recording everything that happened in this room. Your system maintained order by crushing anyone who disagreed with you. That is not order. That is oppression. We offer you wealth, said the Vaxxan delegate. Smoke came from the vents in his armor as he spoke quickly. Mining rights to entire star systems. Trade agreements that will make your species rich beyond imagination. We don't want your wealth, Ryan said. We want something you never learned to understand. We want justice. The aliens looked confused. In their experience, wars ended with the winner taking everything valuable from the loser. The idea that humans might want something other than profit or power was completely foreign to them. President Daniel Foster arrived on Centrax Prime 3 days later. He was not a military man like Admiral Cross. He was a teacher from Ohio who had been elected to represent humanity in whatever government came after the war. Daniel stood in the same chamber where humans had been insulted and dismissed for years. But instead of taking the high seat that Chairman Zephyros had used, he walked down to the center floor where the petitioners had always stood. We are not here to replace your empire with our empire, Daniel announced to the gathered representatives. We are here to create something that has never existed before, a government where every species has an equal voice. The alien delegates looked at each other in confusion. The Corvani representative, half machine and half organic, spoke in its mechanical voice. Equal representation is impossible. Some species are naturally superior to others. Some have more advanced technology or longer experience in space travel. Some species also said that humans were too primitive to deserve respect, Daniel replied. How did that work out for you? Dr. Helen Parker stood in her laboratory on Earth and watched the news broadcasts from across the galaxy. Her weapons had helped win the war, but now she was working on something more important. She was designing the technology that would make the new government possible. The translation system is ready, she told her assistant, Dr. Carl Roberts. Every species will be able to communicate with every other species in real time. No more confusion about language barriers. What about the voting system? Carl asked. Each species gets one vote, regardless of size or technology level. But decisions require a 75% majority, so no single group can force their will on others. The new system was revolutionary. For the first time in galactic history, tiny species like the Secatar would have the same voice as mighty empires like the Zenthari. Every decision would have to be made with the agreement of most of the galaxy's civilizations. Former Chairman Zephyros sat in a small office in the new Galactic Federation building. He was now the junior representative for his species, with no more authority than any other delegate. His people had voted him out of leadership after the war ended. Through his window, he could see the central park where children from dozens of different species played together. Human children ran and laughed alongside young Zenthari, Skatar, and Villani. A few months ago, such a scene would have been impossible. Sir, said his assistant, a young Zenthari female, the Federation Council is voting on the new education standards. Do you wish to participate? Zephyros looked at the voting tablet on his desk. The proposed standards would require all galactic schools to teach the history of council oppression and the principles of equal representation. It was a complete rejection of everything he had believed in for centuries. But as he watched the children play outside, he began to understand something he had missed for his entire life. The old system had been strong, but it had also been brittle. It depended on keeping different species afraid and separated from each other. The new system was based on something much more powerful. It was based on the idea that all intelligent life deserved respect and opportunity. Zephyros pressed the button to vote in favor of the new standards. Admiral Ryan Cross retired to his family farm in Kansas 6 months after the war ended. He could have been the ruler of the galaxy if he wanted. The human military was still the strongest force in known space, and most species would have followed his orders without question. Instead, he chose to grow corn and raise cattle on the same land. His grandfather had farmed. He spent his evenings sitting on his porch watching the stars and thinking about the future. His neighbor, an elderly farmer named Tom Wilson, often joined him for these evening conversations. Do you think it will last? Tom asked one night. This new government of yours? Ryan smiled as he watched a ship full of alien students fly overhead, heading to Earth's universities to study human concepts of democracy and justice. The council lasted for 1,000 years by keeping people apart and afraid, Ryan said. Our system is based on bringing people together and giving them hope. I think hope is stronger than fear in the long run. Even when things get difficult? Tom asked. Especially when things get difficult, Ryan replied. That's when you find out what people are really made of. Light years away, Ambassador Jake Morrison was helping to write the Federation Constitution. The document would guarantee rights for every intelligent species and establish laws that applied equally to everyone, regardless of their technology or military power. It was the same dream that had driven humans to fight their impossible war against the Council. The dream that all beings deserved to be treated with dignity and respect. As Jake worked late into the night, he thought about the moment when he had walked out of the council chamber and declared an end to human diplomacy. He had been angry then, and desperate, and afraid for his people's future. Now he was hopeful. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had done something much better. They had shown the galaxy how to govern itself with wisdom and justice. The age of human warfare was over. The age of galactic democracy had begun.